I was only 7 years old when I first picked up a camera. I soon had a small collection of books about filmmaking, and it was then that I first learnt about the rule of thirds. Now I'm 44 years old, and I'm wondering, why is it that so many of the most iconic images from cinema and photography are not using the rule of thirds? And with this in mind, why do so many people promote it so hard as a vital guideline for good composition? If you're fairly new to filmmaking and photography, I believe the rule of thirds can negatively impact your images and the way you look at composition. I also think it can have a limiting effect on one's natural creative development and taste for how to compose shots. And it's not only an issue for beginners. It's been 37 years since I started filming, and I think I'm still haunted by it. I boshed out the first draft of this script while out walking Zelda, but as I started to work more into that first draft, I discovered that I'm not the only one questioning it. In fact, it's a pretty huge long-running source of contention. I started out thinking this video would be a bit of a rant for a few minutes, and it's become a bit of an investigation. So, let's talk about this. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, a bit of background on me. I'm obviously a lifelong filmmaker, as you've just seen, but part of that is 10 years as a cinematographer on documentaries all around the world, and then commercials, music videos, short films. If I was to say one part of the filmmaking process that I love the most, it would be using the camera, no doubt, lighting and composition. According to this rule, the horizon should be placed on the bottom or top third, and subjects should be placed either on the left or right vertical line. It probably started subconsciously last April when I started this channel and started using YouTube regularly for the first time in my life. I would hear filmmaking YouTubers talk about this rule and often just referencing it quickly, chucking the grid lines over images from feature films. And almost every time, the examples just wouldn't resonate for me. I've seen dozens of examples given that either don't fit the rule anyway, or with grid lines that are over the top of letterboxed black bars, for example with a 2:3:9 aspect ratio, which obviously makes no sense at all because you're not even dividing the actual image into thirds. So what is going on here? Like, after going through quite a few of these videos, I just found myself left with so many unanswered questions. One of which being, if this is so crucial and important, why does it not seem to be a thing with any of the films that I watch? Another. So if you've managed to place your main subject or two on the vertical lines, what about all the other important elements that might be in your composition? And your subject shouldn't be placed in the centre of frame. But those compositions are not only commonly used for close and wide shots, but can be absolutely stunning and are used all the time by top cinematographers and directors. So next up in my little investigation, I decided to search for top cinematographers and photographers to hear from them whether they use the rule. And the results were as I imagined. I couldn't find anyone specifically saying that they use it. So if you have, please let me know in the comments below because I'm really interested to know. Legendary cinematographer Roger Deakins, who's shot 12 of the Coen brothers films and tons more epic films that you've definitely seen, says he hasn't considered the rule of thirds a conscious part of his approach since art college in the 60s, which is when he started photography as an 18 or 19-year-old. And renowned photographer Michael Freeman describes the rule of thirds as probably the worst piece of compositional advice I can imagine. Photographer Huntington Witherell: what might work in one situation can often prove disastrous in another. As such, employing a formulaic approach to composition will, more often than not, prove ineffectual. And Ansel Adams famously said, "The rules of photographic composition are, in my opinion, invalid, irrelevant, immaterial." So if professionals don't use it, who is the rule of thirds for? Beginners? Surely the goal of teaching composition is for beginners to think independently and creatively, for them to feel totally free to frame things literally however they want. When it comes to composition, I feel like any rule stifles this natural process, and the rule of thirds is a very simple, limited and restricted way to look at composition. For us humans, in a world of exploding AI, the unique way we might frame shots and create art is surely our superpower. My view is that it's much harder to unlearn something that has been embedded in your brain. That's why I mentioned the idea of me being haunted by it. And people say, well, rules are there to be broken, once you know it, you can break it. But while I agree with that about certain things to do with filming, for example, the 180-degree rule, I don't think it applies here. To me, the difference is this. If you are unaware of the 180-degree rule while shooting a couple of people talking, for example, and you get it wrong, the edit might technically not work because those two people won't appear to be facing each other. Whereas the rule of thirds, to my mind, is a subjective judgment on what is a pleasing image. To me, an analogy might be saying that symmetry in composition is a rule, or having leading lines. But those two don't feel like rules at all. They're presented as ideas or powerful techniques to have in mind. You can use them if you like. I guess that's part of my problem with the rule of thirds. It just feels like way too much importance is given to it, which has the effect of being misleading to new photographers and filmmakers. But I would love to hear from you guys. Have you found it useful for your own learning of composition? Do you love it? Are there things about it that you've found tricky when you've been out shooting? Personally, I would feel so much happier if it was just described as one method for how you can compose shots, but it doesn't roll off the tongue quite so easily, does it? But I feel like everyone can and should feel totally free to compose epic, unique shots however the hell you want to. Which brings me on to the golden ratio. Now, the idea that you can split up a frame Please don't forget to like and leave a comment to help this channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.